Chapter 20, we get into communities and ecosystems. So why does biodiversity matter? So the biological diversity on the planet. Well, for one thing, our expanding human population is a severe threat for the biodiversity on the planet and the disappearance of natural ecosystems. As human population has increased over human history, we've altered the planet and have modified most naturally occurring ecosystems on the planet. So only about 25% of the Earth's land surfaces remain untouched by humans, and those are land surfaces that are basically not easily accessible to people. Often things like deserts, mountain ranges, those sorts of places. So healthy ecosystems provide multiple resources like water, food, fish, game, and ecological services, the recycling of nutrients, preventing erosion and mudslides, controlling agricultural pests in the sense of having natural predators around, and of course pollination by insects and other organisms that pollinate plants that humans rely on and other animals rely on for food. So for example, coastal wetlands that we talked about in a previous chapter act as buffers against hurricanes to help prevent the water upsurge onto land and reduce the impact of flooding, because as water comes downhill through rivers and streams, water hits wetland area and which are nice and flat, and the water kind of slows down and basically absorbs floods. And in doing so, as the water percolates through a wetland, it helps the aquatic ecosystems there filter pollutants, furnish nesting sites for numerous birds, but also marine organisms like turtles, and nurseries for many species of fish and shellfish, some of them being marine for the coastal wetlands or estuaries. So wetlands are extremely important, but many have been altered and or simply destroyed by humans. So the loss of biodiversity, when we consider biological diversity, biodiversity, it includes a couple of aspects that are broken up by biologists or ecologists. One is genetic diversity, another is species diversity, and another is ecosystem diversity. So genetic diversity is a diversity of genes or alleles within a species or within species. So that's why, different colors occur in plants. If you remember way back when we talked about Mendel's peas and some of the genes or alleles that conferred certain characteristics to those plants. Species diversity, that's pretty straightforward. Different numbers of species, different types of species on the planet, whether they be microbes or plants or animals. And then ecosystem diversity, we talked about ecosystems and biomes in a separate chapter. So different biomes and ecosystems that are on the planet is what's related to, or what we are considering when we talk about ecosystem diversity. So the loss of biodiversity encompasses more than just the fate of individual species. It encompasses essentially the entire planet, the whole biome, in one way or another, because to one degree or another, each individual species, in fact, each individual organism is linked to another organism, and one species is linked to another species, all the way up to the entire level of the biosphere. And in a way, you can think of some species as being more vital than others, but sometimes that's just because of a lack of knowledge by humans. So the genetic diversity, that's the genetic diversity within a population, and it's the raw material that makes microevolution and evolutionary adaptation to the environment possible. Remember when we talked about microevolutionary change leading to speciation and evolutionary adaptation to environmental change? So the genetic diversity within populations is very important for organisms to be able to adapt and to change in the face of environmental change, which is frequent to some degree. So if local populations are lost, the number of individuals in a species declines, And in doing so, you or that group may lose some of its alleles or genes, and then some genetic diversity would be lost. So then the genetic resources for those species to be able to face environmental changes and adapt to them declines. And that generally harms a species and usually makes it easier for a species to go extinct. So researchers and biotechnology fields are really excited about the potential for what's called genetic bioprospecting, which has gone on in the past and it's going on more so now for future development of things like medicines and applications in terms of industrial chemicals and or other products. So the idea of bioprospecting is workers in the field, researchers, examine certain particular characteristics of organisms and see if they can apply those to human needs in some way. So for example, this is a marine type of mollusk, a snail called a cone snail, and it's very poisonous. And it's actually a really good predator in nature. Here's one capturing a fish to consume. And this poison can even be toxic, fatal to humans. But the poison and some of the associated proteins have shown good medical applications in the sense of being able to deal with severe chronic pain or things like arthritis. So the loss of a species like this would result in the loss of the potential benefit for humans. Here we have mussels, and they attach to the rocky intertidal zone through what are called byssal threads. But the reason they attach so well is because they have to deal with wave action when the tide is up. So they anchor themselves with a really, really strong thread. With a really, really strong glue adhesive. So one area of exploration here is to see if they can utilize that adhesive and possibly match it with possibly fibers from other organisms like a bacterium to produce a really strong adhesive material. So again, examining biological materials, chemicals, proteins, etc., biological molecules from various organisms on the planet to try to use them and incorporate them into human uses. So again, if we lose certain species in nature, we lose a potential benefit in terms of possibly being able to apply some of the materials, compounds, etc. that they make for human resources, human uses. Also, researchers are working to stop, for an example, a strain of a fungus pathogen that's called a rust. So there's something called a wheat stem rust that's devastating wheat harvests in parts of Africa and Asia and just devastates the crops. So if you remember, fungi consume organisms by secreting digestive enzymes and eating the organisms that way, usually when they're dead, but rust can attack living plants, and in doing so will reduce wheat harvests in lots of parts of the world. So what researchers are trying to do is to find varieties of wheat in the wild that are resistant to the rust and try to incorporate their genetic material into wheat that is cultivated and harvested on the planet, and a way to try to fight this pathogen. And if wild plants in nature are lost, the potential benefit from the genetic diversity is lost for potential human usage. So a little on species diversity here. So humans are pushing many species towards extinction at an alarming rate, and that's accelerated over the last couple of 100 years, in particular the last 100 years, with industrialization and increased human population, and then increased human incursion into natural habitats and destruction of natural habitats, which clearly destroys plants and then animals that rely on those plants in those particular places. So at the present rate, species loss is up to 100 times higher than it's been at any time in the past 100,000 years. And that's just simply alarming. And again, that's directly attributable to human impact. So researchers are estimating that at the current rate of destruction, over half of all the living plants and animal species would likely be gone by the end of this century. So that's pretty sobering and pretty scary in a way. If we lose that many plant and animal species, the ecological impact on ecosystems and on the planet would most likely be very severe and could even threaten human existence into the future. So conservation is not just a good idea, it's essential for our survival and the survival of so many other organisms on the planet. So just two examples, and there's actually been hundreds of extinctions caused directly by human activity. There's the Chinese river dolphin that has recently gone extinct, and the Formosa clouded leopard. Both of these happen to be in Asia, but there's extinctions of many species throughout the entire planet. So these are animals that just don't exist anymore. So the International Union for Conservation of Nature estimates that about 13% of bird species and about 25% of mammalian species are currently threatened with extinction. So those are fairly large numbers. Over 20% of freshwater fishes have either gone extinct or are seriously threatened with extinction. And about 40% of amphibian species are in danger of extinction. So amphibians are things like salamanders, frogs, newts, those sorts of animals. In the U.S. alone, about 200 plant species have become extinct in recorded history, and most of those are in the last 100 years. And over 1,000 plant species worldwide are in danger of extinction. So if we lose this many plant species, the impact on the ecosystems is just hard to imagine. So let's move on to ecosystem diversity. Remember, an ecosystem is a association of the community of different species and the habitat or environment in where they live, and the abiotic component. So the living biotic component and the abiotic component that are important, like water, minerals, temperature, rainfall, those sorts of things. So an ecosystem is the living biotic organisms and the abiotic factors in a particular area, habitat, region. So the network of the association or interaction among the populations of different species within an ecosystem is complex, not always fully understood by humans. And then the loss of one species can have a serious negative impact on the entire ecosystem. And it depends on the species. Some species, in a way, have much more of an impact on the interaction among populations than others. Some really important species are the larger predators, which are considered apex predators or apex species. As we will talk about later, many of them are keystone species. So the disappearance of ecosystems results in the loss of the services that they provide. So things like air and water purification, climate regulation, erosion control, especially when we talk about wetlands. And then the services that are lost initially are local, but then they can be global depending on the size of the particular ecosystem and where it happens to be. Coral reefs, for example, are rich in species diversity. They're considered the tropical rainforests of the oceans. And it's estimated that about 20% of our world's coral reefs have been destroyed through human activity, primarily pollution. And if that rate increases, or if we lose much more coral reefs, well, the impact will be immeasurable. So we'll continue in the next